All right, welcome back to another episode of Morphy's Games of Chess. We got game 61 coming up, the second match game held in February of 1859. Morphy versus Mongredien, okay? And Morphy has the white piece, and he starts off with e4, e5. Here come the knights, here come the bishops. And lo and behold, here comes the b-pawn by Morphy. b4, the Evans Gambit. This is one of Morphy's favorites. Now, amazingly, game 61, and we only seen one other example of it, and I believe it was the first game against Anderson. Let me just check if you want to check that one out. Let's see here. I go back in the book a little bit. Here it is. Game number, what was this now? 49, I believe. If the Roman numerals are correct. Yeah, 49. You could check that one out. If I got it right here, I think that's 49. Yep, okay. So game 49, you could check out an Evans Gambit, Morphy versus Anderson, Morphy having the white pieces. But here we are, another Evans Gambit, and there's going to be plenty to come, folks. This is one of Morphy's favorites. Okay, so he throws up the b-pawn. Mongredien takes it, and then you hit that bishop with the c-pawn. Now you're saying, well, what time is he really gaining, folks? Because he's making pawn moves. We touched on that in the last game. You know, pawn moves aren't considered developing moves. It's only when you develop a piece, like a knight, a bishop, a rook, right? Your castle, that's considered a developing move. But you got to remember, you got to move pawns to be able to get out, for instance, your bishop, right? Mongredien moves his bishop to c5, okay? So, like, an example is now he can move this bishop out, all right? He's got a avenue to move this guy out. He also, now with the c-pawn moving, he can bring out the queen perhaps on this diagonal, okay? So there's another option. You'll see that sometimes in the Evans. It goes over here, the Evans Gambit. It jumps to b3 and it put pressure on down on the f7 pawn down here, see? All right, so you got a light square battery idea. So anyway, all right, let's see how this game continues. Like I said, Mongredien brings the bishop to c5. The other common move is to go to a5, all right? The jury's still out on that one. Who knows? Either one's good. All right. Augustus picks this one. Augustus Mongredien picks c5 for the bishop. And Morphy, at this point, he castles, right? Let me make sure here. We got move 6. Here we go. Castles by Morphy. All right. So now Augustus moves his d-pawn to d6. Common move. Getting ready to get out his queen bishop. Like I said, see, the d-pawn or the b-pawn has to move to get that bishop out, right? Okay. So now we see the idea also of c3 is not just to make an avenue for the queen, okay? It's also to support d4, pawn pushing the center. And now after they trade, okay, he's got two pawns. For one, the bishop's attacked. So Augustus drops his bishop back to b6, okay? And now white has a pawn center. Two pawns up front. See, he's got space advantage, folks. He's got space advantage too, right? You see this? You see he's got an avenue for the bishop going this way, going that way. He's got options. He's got a clear scope for this guy. The knight's ready to leap. I don't know. Maybe even e5 is coming to support, you know. The knight could come leaping out. Maybe the knight, the queen could come over here. Maybe after the knight moves, it could leap up. All right. So anyway, and these two pawns side by side control all these key squares here. You got it's controlling f5, d5. This one's controlling c5 and e5. Okay, and he's got black has less space, but he has the extra pawn, so it's like a trade-off. Whose advantage is gonna weigh more? Is it gonna be white's space advantage, and he's gonna try to build up some to get ahead in time, or is it gonna be black's extra pawn? We're gonna find out. Okay, so now after castles, you got the you got d6. Let's just go over that again, right? White castles, d6, pawn push. They trade. All right, now the bishop's still hit. He retreated to b6. And now Morphy follows up with bishop to b2. All right, so he decides to develop on b2. Now, what's being threatened, folks, if you haven't noticed, he's threatening to hit the knight. And just let's throw the knight over here. Well, now he comes down and he wins not only wins the G pawn, but he's going to win the exchange, right? He's going to win this one. So that's a little threat. Now, yes, he could hop in there. Okay, we'll get to that in a minute. But that's just to show you some of the bishop's ready for his scope to expand if this D pawn moves up, right? If he moves up, now this bishop on B2 has beautiful scope. But you do notice you're blocking the light square bishop. But okay, we're going to see how this plays out. All right, so what does Magridian do? He ends up bringing the king knight developing because he wants to get castled, folks. You know, that's the thing. Look at Morphy. At this point, he's got 3 minor pieces developed to black's 2, and he's castled, okay? So black's just trying to get his knight out and get castled as quick as he can. I mean, for instance, if he does go here, now this could, like there might be this move, but anyway, now this looks even better, right? Because this guy can't, this would lose anyway, we showed it. I mean, he would go here and attack the bishop, right? And if he takes this, well, he has time to now save this guy, and he's threatening our bishop now. And yes, we have a check. Now, the idea, though, there is something that's interesting. If you come back and you figure, oh, no, you lost this guy. No, because you check here, right, and you can pick him back up. Okay, so he's not really hanging. But now it starts to get dangerous for white. Look at this. Turn the tables, huh? Look at this guy. You got mate in one move, right? Actually, you got the knight on f3 protecting for now, at least. But look at this. What happens if he takes, folks? What happens? Look. He takes here, right? Nowhere to go but H1, right? Now he wins this guy. Check. He goes over. And now, look at this light square. Light square weakness. You're destroyed on the light squares. What are you going to do? I think it's over, folks. I think this. Look at that. When you got moves like this, you know it's over, right? You're just prolonging the game. I mean, he takes and then you just go in, right? There you go. There's nothing you can do at this point. What could after the block, what could he do? He can't defend G2. So he couldn't take the rook, right? On this, he can't even take the rook. He goes over. And then you got this guy coming down, threatening the knight, right? Threatening the knight. Well, you protect the knight. Now he's going to take it with the bishop. And he's got to try to protect the knight. I mean, it gets really, the black attack just pays dividends, folks. It's all over for white, really, at this point. He may be able to keep the king in the game a little longer, but it looks like he's going to lose pieces. Looks like he's going to lose here. All right, here we go. Takes, you get two there. Oh, okay. You take this way. He can't take over here or he loses to this, right? Or even Q to, I like shredders. Take with the rook, right? The knight has no time to take the queen. All right, that would be mate. So at this point, he takes the rook. He wins the exchange. He wins this guy. Look at this. Check, right? You trade him off. Why not? Look, trade him off. There you go. He wants to take with the king. There you go. You're up a knight. After all the dust settles, forget about it. All right. I don't know how we got in that line. I didn't even see that in the my analysis. That just cropped up. It's amazing, this game, the things that could occur, you know. It's endless. Endless, folks. All right, so just the idea of this bishop on B2, the scope, you know, the scope that it gains. So on this, that would be a mistake, I guess. After that, he takes control. You could check with the bishop over here, but then he's hit with the pawn, and then he's hit with that pawn. It looks like you're going to end up losing the guy, and that's no good. All right, so anyway. But we'll see, like I said, we'll see how this plays out. Augustus brings his knight to f6. Okay? And now, with the knight on f6, and here's what they say, folks, on that move. Okay? Just to be thorough. The correct move, here you go. You got the knight hitting the bishop, and white wants to retain this guy. Okay, so he brings it back to d3, and then this knight comes to e7, and they say the old masters claim this is the best line, okay, for black. This is the best way to go, okay? White has a little space advantage, but hey, black has the extra pawn. So, anybody's game. Who knows what could happen? Depends on the players, right? Depends what goes on from here. All right, so now let's get back to the actual game. Augustus bringing his, after bishop to b2, he brings the knight here, and now Morphy brings his knight to d2, protecting this guy who is under the gun. Or was he really, folks? Not really, because if he was to, I don't know, let's just throw a silly move. If he was to take here, well, I don't know. Does he get into trouble after this, folks? You know, pinning that guy? I guess not yet, because he has time to castle, or does he? Let's see. Then you do the pawn fork, right? You do the pawn fork, and you get your piece back. I guess he takes the pawn. He wants to at least win the pawn back. So now you got 5 against 6. White's still down a point. You get a tempo on the queen. All right, so you get a tempo on her, and then you hit this guy out of there. Let's see where it goes, right, folks? Interesting. All right, so does he have enough for that pawn, that gambited pawn? That's the question. I don't know. He's got 2 on that. He's got 2 on this D pawn, on your white D pawn. So you back it up, queen to b3. He attacks your rook. I don't know. So another game. They're giving it to black. They're giving it to black. He does have the material, and it looks like white doesn't have as much as you would like, because black is developed now. He's got all his pieces out. Matter of fact, the bishop developed. The knight got to a better square, and both on this rook, getting tempos on the rook. So it doesn't look like that pawn is, that white sacrifice is really helping him out at all. But who knows? It's a game, whole other fight. But, like I said, Morphy brings the knight to d2, backing up this guy, right? Well, after that, Mongrenian, he castles, right? But now check this out. You might say you saw that pawn fork, right? Just to touch on it again, I wanted to look at this, and this is funny. Now, he could take, you figure, oh, he's going to win a pawn like this because he's got this one, right? He's got the pawn fork in this scenario. But black has not castled yet. He hasn't castled yet, right? So, here you go. Look at this. Now, Shredder's likes this one at this point. And he tries to castle there. Now, what's interesting is it tried this at one point, and you do the sack. Look at this, just to show you these patterns. Look at this. The queen checks here, right? And now he goes here, and you can take, right? Why? Because if he takes the bishop, folks, you got the knight check, forking the king and queen. All right, he's got to take that. But look, now that was a discovery. Look. The knight moving unleashes the white queen. So even though the knight doesn't fork king and queen and win the queen, you get to take it with your queen. Right? Pretty crazy. And now you're up. Okay? And you'd say, well, wait a minute. If he goes there on the queen check from f3 and you take, well, where else could he go, right? Look, if on this one, if he goes this way, right? Same idea. Look. If he takes him, look, it all works. It's still another knight fork, right? And you win it all the same. Okay, and if let's say he goes here, right? What else can you do? He goes there. Oh, you got this bishop over here. Remember him? Look at this diagonal, folks. Beautiful. Okay. A matter of fact, since I'm on that, let's just go back a bit. That is it's a common thing that we'll see. I forgot to mention this, okay? But on this, when the bishop develops, Morphy bringing it to B2, right? Very common for it to come to A3 and take over control. Because look, once the bishop backs off and goes to B6, now this bishop very often takes control of this diagonal now that the black bishop retreated to B6 and surrendered this diagonal. And that could be troublesome when this pawn, right, eventually, like, let's just say they trade over here. Now the diagonal's open, and it usually can be trouble for black because it keeps the black king from castling. All right, just so I wanted to, that's a key theme. And you know, originally Morphy wouldn't play the bishop to A3. He eventually, from playing the Evans Gambit over and over and experimenting with it, he came up with that move, and it was the best move at a certain point. Okay, and we're going to see. It's just a little highlight of what's to come. All right? But anyway, we're getting back to our game. Here you go. Knight out. And we're touching on, can he take and try to win, win a pawn, so to speak, because he's going to use the pawn fork to win the piece back, right? And we looked at this move at this point. Oh, look at that. So he likes that now. We do the sacks. He takes. You come up, and we were looking at even this. Now you would bring him there. That's how we got into that discussion. And look at it. He has nothing better, folks. What does that tell you? Than to block with the queen, right? If he blocks here, big deal. We just take. Just add in an extra move before defeat, right? If he goes here, well, okay. You take this way. If he takes back, you got rooks coming into the game, right? You got the queen coming into the game, taking a pawn, big deal, right? You're going to take on it. You're going to take on it on D6, already protects. You can check here. It's over. Okay, folks, do we have to go further? Right? Do we have to go any further? Plus 18 at that point, right? So, he doesn't want to play this. He doesn't want to take, right? You take here. All right, if he goes this way, like discussed, he can't take. This is always pretty to see once again, right? So he can't even take it. He's got only one move, is to go here. And where do we go from this point? Pretty close. The evaluation's pretty close. All right, he throws this guy here, right? What are we going to do, right? Goes after the queen. The knight move is to free up e4 so you can check with the bishop, I guess. Okay, he goes back. All right, our queen's attacked over here. Maybe we're going to push d5 soon, right? But anyway, okay, so it's pretty close. It's pretty close. I mean, I probably like to play white here just because I like to have the initiative, have my pieces develop. Black's still trying to get his queen bishop out, get his other rook in the game. But I don't know. He does have the extra pawn if he can keep white's attack down. Okay, but guess what, folks? That's not the best move for white. Okay? Right here, we threw this knight up, right? If he castles, let's just say like he castles, right? Well, let's see. You take there. If he takes, we get the queen coming right in. He goes there. Now, we can take on d5. I think knight to g5 is going to be coming soon. Right? Okay, look at this. Why does he have to do that? Let's see. I guess if he doesn't, let's just throw this dumb move. There you go. What's he get? How can he stop mate? Right, folks? What can he do? What can he do? If he moves over this way, well, then we come in here, right? We come in there, he goes this way, we come back, and now our bishop keeps him from going to g8, right? Once we remove the f pawn, common attack idea, okay? So he'd have to sack the queen. Now, we did give him a silly move of a6 just to show you the threat. Knight g5 is a huge threat. So we bring this guy up here, and he's basically just giving it to us, just to slow it down, I guess. Well, we go here, he gets a tempo. Now we check, we sack him, we get the check this way. I see what's coming. He's got to go over. Now, he doesn't want to give a tempo to our bishop, right? Well, then again, he can push f5. That's true. All right, my mistake. Let's see, but he goes here. He decides to go there. We take here. He attacks us. We go back. What happens on this? What happens? We get the check. Okay, he moves. We go here. Now we got two. Let's see. This blocks. Oh, a discovery, folks. I forgot about that. I shouldn't say we forgot. I forgot about that bishop on b2, baby. Look at the long diagonal now. Coming into play, I tell you. It's a lot to see here. All right. Now we're coming in. We're ready to come. Queen. This threatens queen to h5 next and mate on g7. There's nothing he can do, right? He tries to save him. There's nothing he can do to stop queen to g7. See, folks? So he'd have to take here, and then he'd take this. So you get two bishops for the queen. Not enough. Not enough. All right. Oh, look at this. What's this? We're gonna chase that knight out of there, and then push to. Then we're gonna push to h6 and threaten it that way. Look at this. We'll give up the exchange. Who cares, right? The rook. What is the rook gonna come down? We take it. Let's see. If I go here, okay, gives him time to. Gives him time. So let's see. We take this way. Got to move that knight, right? Unless he loses him. And what do we do? Look at that future of that knight. Where's he gonna go, right, folks? All right. Develop this guy. Let's just see how this plays out. You get the check in. Going to bring a rook to g8, but we'll do this. We'll push him. We check him on the white diagonal. So there you go. Now you can take there. All right. So we chew him up slowly but surely. We're going to win this one. Okay. So anyway. All right. So beautiful action with the bishops, right? Okay. So sometimes what's nice is when you get the king over here and you get a rook lift and then you slide it to h3 and you got mate on the side of the board. But anyway, okay. So we go all the way back because we didn't even look at the best line for this knight leaping up to g5 isn't even the best move. Okay? This knight is better. All right? So now he moved one piece away. Black's got to take the bishop, else he's down then, right? He'll have, I guess, what is it? Let's say if he does castle, right? We can threaten mate on h7 first, and then, okay, and then move our bishop, right? And then we end up having, what do we got? It's 7 pawns to 5. So he's got 2 pawns for our minor piece, right? We got all 4 minor pieces. He has 2 extra pawns. So who knows? They put up white about 1.5 pawns here, so it might be enough. You know, you got the action, you got the busy pieces. So now again, if the fork idea, you move this other knight. So when he takes, okay, look at this. They're saying queen here, right? But I thought the rook check is the move. You get the rook check. Now he likes the queen check. Let's see how that works out. Right, he goes there and then what? To win this. And now you're hitting f7, but he castles. You pin the knight. He hits you here. All right, you're going for the knight on e7. Because if he takes here, you take here, hitting the queen. You're going to win the exchange, right? And then there you go. I think now you're better, right? You're up the exchange. You got 5 pawns to 5 pawns, right? Lo and behold, all of a sudden, all right, he wins a pawn, or does he? See, he pins that guy, but he could play this. So, all right, let's see, we're gonna take there. He's gonna take, and we could keep the queens on. All right, but either way, however we want to do it, right? All right, so we're up that way. I couldn't pass this up. It's just too interesting. So you move the knight. When he takes, all right, queen check wins. Before, when I was doing this, you got the rook check, right? Now if he blocks, you know, you're just falling right into it. You're losing a piece that way. You know, he goes after him, right? Okay, knight takes, hitting the queen. Remember, we're attacking the queen. Oh, wait a minute. He likes this better. All of a sudden, he likes this one. All right, so he takes down there. All right, now we take with the pawn. He could take here, big deal. We take with check. All right, he goes up. Now we take the queen back. And we're going to take that bishop next, but he saves it. Okay, he saves it. And why there? Why does he go there? Why not go here? Look, why not save that, right? I don't get it. Why C3? And it puts us up. We got that pawn on F7. Maybe that's the key here. Right, here comes the check. The king was in a mating net, actually, folks. Look at that. After this, the black king can't move. Haha. So after this, all we got to do is give check. That's what this maneuver is. We're coming to F5, and how can he stop us? How can he stop us? Only way is to get that bishop over here. And now he okay, so now he's blocking the rook's influence on the d file. Okay, but now we're going to win him. When he takes this, we can take here, because if not, we queen, folks. We come in with the queen. The bishop is pinned, folks. The bishop is pinned. All right, so he can't take. He can't take our knight, right? We're going in next, folks. We're going in next. We're going to win his rook, right? Okay, we take this guy who defends. Now that the king moved up, right, the bishop's not pinned. Let's take him out so he doesn't cover F8, the queen in square, right? There we go. We go in. Now he's got to take the queen, right? We can't leave him on the board. But, okay, now check, right? And there you go. And we get out of Dodge. I don't know, however we do it. Now, if we go this way, I don't think that's right, because then he could trap us. Look at that. He traps us, folks. Can't go this way. Can't go here because of the pawn. Can't go there. Can't go there because of the knight. Look at that. So you got to run. Let's see. Let's do this again. Now Shredder's saying you can get out of it somehow. How could you get out of this? Oh, wait. Let's see. Let's see how you figure it out here. Oh, wait. He takes there, you run. How's he going to stop it? Let's see. Can he stop it? You're going on in. He's going to get there in just... All right, there you go. There you go. What was that? Okay. This is the warning bells. He goes here. What if he comes up? Then you take with check. Okay. You take with check. All right. So there's really nothing. What could he do at this point? You got these connected pawns over here. Now he's coming after you over there. I guess if he goes there, you could link him up. Link that chain up, right? Oh, he likes it anyway now. Link up the chain. There you go. Now he brings the knight. King's going to come up. You got to love these end games. Look at this. You go after him. He goes check. He sacks it, folks. He sacks it. Well, now it's over. Now it's over. Okay, folks, we don't have to go any further than that. That's what he thinks is best, right? So anyway, you got him. You got him dead to rights. I mean, that was beautiful how you do it, right? I mean, we're doing it quick, folks. We're doing it quick, but look at that, right? This is all stemming. What if the bishop blocks, okay? Boom. You hit him with the D-pawn. Folks, you can't take because your bishop's pinned, right? Bishop on E6 is pinned to the king. All right. So dummy up. If he goes after you, right, you go after him. If he tries to move over here, I guess it doesn't really matter because then again, if he takes here, you go with check, right? Double check, folks, double check. You see that? The pawn and the rook on E1. So he goes here, only move. You can't block a double check. You got to just move the king, right? And now you get this. Look at this. Check, you win the queen. There you go with check. All right, fine. There you go, right? Okay, and it's game over. All right, you go over here. He takes. He's still got his eyes on him. All right, take with check. Then you recapture. There you go. Right, you're up queen for a rook, and the pawns are even. Can you believe it? Now look at this. He goes there, and there's no back rank made, huh? Look. Because you just come back and block, right? Come back to block. The knight protects. The knight protects the rook, right? See? And so he would take here. Forget it. It's all over. All right. We don't have to see anymore, right? So you can't block that guy with the bishop. You can't block the rook check right here with the bishop. Just to go back to know what we're talking about. You can't pawn fork this, right? Knight to G5 is the best move. When he takes, you check. He can't block. He's got to move. And look at this one, folks. Over here, this guy, I think that's the move. I think bishop to A3. I mean, this is how it turned out when I went over it with him. He goes over here. I mean, if he blocks, I mean, what's the point of this, folks, right? Check, you're going to win the queen, right? Even if he takes and you take, and he goes there, and then, I don't know, you go here. Now, okay, now he wants to block with him, but you win him. That bishop's pinned, right? Because if he goes, what does he do? He go here. You check. He goes in. All right, you're threatening mate on F7. He'd have to go there, and then you win another. I guess you win another pawn, or do you? Look, is it going to be mate? Now it's going to be mate on F7. He could do nothing, right? What could he do on the light squares, folks? The rooks are no use. Can't get up to defend, right? So all that. Look at that, beautiful. So anyway, okay, no sense of blocking. Even though you're going to win. The bishop and you won the knight. You're trading basically. You're figuring trying to trade down at least to take the pieces away from white who has the attack. But even with just the knights and the queen, it's no use. It's no use. If he blocks like this, you're going to win him that way, right? Look at this. You do it this way. You actually don't even take with the pawn. Look, why? Because when he takes, you come down, and now you're bringing, look, again, you see the scenario, folks? You're setting up the lights, the mate's going to be on a light square. No way the rooks could defend D7. Instead of F7, like last time, it's D7. And now the bishop on the black dark squares can't do anything. Right? Yeah, don't even take them. You can't even do it. Well, you made a little escape square, but we take that away with the rook. Look at this. All right, now he defends. Okay, fine. But look at this. Right? What's he do now? Because if he goes down, folks, you see it? Now the rook's influence on the B file. See that? Can't do that. And with the king up, rook over, you can't do this because now once again there's no escape square on B6. All right, he goes there. Look, the knight gives the final blow. Look at these patterns, folks. Do you see this game? You see what I'm talking about? All stemming from the aggressive ideas of, see, the gambit. It's like it's any wrong move. I mean, a lot of kids, they're gonna say, "Oh, I've seen this pawn fork. I could win another pawn like this," and and then look at what happens to you. Next thing you know, You got white's ready to attack, you know. He's playing for the attack. So he doesn't mind sacking a piece or more pawns. Look at this. Okay. The king over. Bishop check. No way you're going to block, right? So he'd have to go over. Okay, so now they're going to push the pawn and hit the knight, I guess, right? Now we're going to do... Yeah, you hit the knight away because, again, you can't go here. You just get gobbled up. You can't go here. It gets gobbled up. He could go back, but, okay, this is where he went when I did the analysis. Okay, and the rook comes down, right? Now they're attacking f7. All right, so the queen moves over here to try to save it. Look at this. Look at what happens to you. Look. Now, okay, now he's got no choices. I guess he decides to take. If he does take here, that was interesting. Now he's gonna win. He's gonna win this one, right? But let's see. Let's see what happens. How does this shape up? I didn't see him sack the queen in the analysis. Here comes the queen threatening to check on e7 down there. And look at this. He can't even block in any way. He's hopeless. The knight's hopeless. The dark square bishop's hopeless. He takes there. If he takes back, we win 2 pieces, right? So we just, okay, we win there. We were threatening 2 things, not to mention the winning 2 pieces for 1. If he was to go here, we're threatening to come down, right? And if he goes here, we take the rook with check. He comes up, I think he's going to end up getting mated, right? Look at this, knight. Going to take away the squares. Look at this. So now if he goes, we're on the rook. Remember, if he goes this way, we take the rook with mate, right? So he goes to defend, right? And look, it's mate anyway. Dark square bishop, folks. Once you take over this diagonal, this is a key element, a key idea in the Evans. That queen bishop takes control of this diagonal. Okay? All right, so he doesn't sack the queen on this, okay? He can't do it. All right, he tries something. Let's see. Brings the bishop out. Tongue-tied over here. All right. So now, I guess, all right, we go over here, backing up our rook. So he can't play rook to e8, right? And I can see, let's see what's happening here. Right? He goes here. What a move, right? This is the best he can do, folks. I don't know. That's the best right now. Okay. You win the exchange. He takes back. Look at this. You got now, okay, queen's protecting the rook on e7. So now the bishop can redirect, take over the dark square diagonal from b2 now, hitting the g7, right? Look at this. Gonna win 2 for the queen. All right. And to bring the queen to e7 check, then the knight up. All right, knight first. All right, and you're up +5, right? Do we have to look at this outpost? Not to mention, right? Look at the outpost. I guess queen. What's the threat? Queen to c3 over here, right? He comes on in. Set up a discovery. All right, but anyway, I'm throwing a6 in as a silly move, but all right, he's going to try to keep control of. Here you go. You get the check. He goes there. All right, now we can't. Now he can't come in on g7. The rook goes there. Threatening c7. Look at this. He takes. We win the rook, right? We win the rook with check. And forget it. We come back, right? He goes back down. All right, folks. No need to go any further than that, right? So, I mean, we got, this is the type of game, you know, how many of you gambiteers would take this, right? I mean, forget about it. This would be great. If he was to make the mistake of thinking he could take on e4, knight takes, he tries to pawn fork, and then you leap it over here. Now he has to take back the piece, right? Or he's down. Rook check. Open e-file. Very dangerous. All right, now he wants to block. All right, here we go. We put the knight over, we put the bishop on a3. Okay, here he goes, right? He tries to do this. Now we could get the check. bishop d7. What goes on here, right? Bishop d7. Now we threaten if he does castle. See, the whole idea in the Evans and all gambits usually, basically all gambits, you're trying to give the pawns, get ahead in development, and keep the enemy from castling, folks. Okay, so even though it doesn't look like much right now, you check, right? Maybe he'd want to play this, but okay, let's go with this idea so I could emphasize. Queen to c2. Why is that good? Because if he castles, you go in right away for mate. He can't. So you're keeping him from castling. Again, that's the idea, folks. That's the idea of these gambits. You get the jump on your opponent, keep him from castling. Now look at this. All right? You got your pieces are swarming. The black king's stuck. He can't. All right, he grabs a better scope for his bishop on c6, right? And he has 2, 4, right? He has 7 pawns to your 5. Okay. So now he still can't castle. You bring the other rook. Look at this. You bring the other rook because you're threatening pawn takes on c5 with a discovered. See, if you want to do it now, he'll move. Now your bishop is blocked. The diagonal's blocked, and you still can't move that knight because it's pinned. And you opened up the D file. Maybe you can't even play it this way. And then you have a tempo on the queens. Okay, so it still might be worth it. You got +2 in this position. But let's see. Shredder likes this. Maybe this is even better. The rook first, because now you're threatening to take on c5. And he's going to try to trade down. It's expected. Then he could castle, I guess. He could castle once our knight comes back to recapture. Maybe you take with the g-pawn, as crazy as that sounds. But I don't know. Because then if you take this way, he still can't castle because your knight's up on g5. And you can threaten, see, to take mate. That would keep the king from castling. But he likes to do it this way. All right. Now what happens if he castles? You take here, attacking the queen, tempo on the queen. So you're going to win a piece then. Okay. So it's worth it. Knight coming back, you'll allow black to castle, but you're going to win a piece. So you're winning anyway, right? If that was the case. There you go. He moves the queen, right? Let's say he moves the queen. Let's just say here, right? You end up taking, and then there you go, right? And actually, you're going to win another piece. Look at this. Tempo on the queen, right? Go for mate. He's got a block. The bishop's, look, your bishop is in trouble from that rook, but he hasn't had time. If you notice, he hasn't had time to take that, right? Tempo on the queen. Maybe Shredder like this better. Okay, that's why. So when we take, all right, so now he repositions this. We win this guy, right? So we win the exchange. All right, so now we're up a full rook. All right, forget it. It's well worth it. So all this is playing out. Even the way Shredder blocked first, and then you pile up with bishop a3, common move. He blocks it. He has time to block for now, but it's still... All right, look at that. Bishop there. You come down. He can't castle or its mate. And this still pays for white. So it's still worth it for the gambit. Okay? All right, folks. So I wanted to show you that. You got to admit, it's beautiful stuff, right? So we just go all the way back. And this is all based off of, can black take this pawn and then try to do a pawn fork? No way. Right? We looked at both. This one, this knight f3 to g5, and actually the better move is this one. Makes sense because you see the open e file, and then he has to, take his piece back, or he's down a piece, and then you get the check in, right? And you go from there. And we looked at many different things. Now, some of you might be saying, yeah, but you didn't let the engine run, and you got to understand something, folks. Look, this Shredder program is 2600, right? Now, I'm gearing this course to people under 2,000, approaching 2,000, and it pays dividends to see all these patterns opposed to being like scientifically accurate. If I let the engine run, maybe black could slowly, maybe there's one line, one line out of hundreds that he could survive, and he's up his pawn, he's up a pawn or two, he's got the material for the end game, and he wins it, right? But how many players that you'll be playing, okay, under 2,000, what are the odds of them finding it? Very slim. Pressure, right? There's so many mistakes made at the lower levels. This is the type of game you want. This is going to pay dividends. Even against the master, he may crack. He may not find the best move on every move. You understand? So you're seeing all these patterns, these combinations, these ideas. That's what we're talking about, folks. That's what I'm gearing this course to show you. It's going to pay dividends. I know I keep saying that. I was looking at some stocks earlier today. Maybe that's why, those blue chips, But as of what is it right now? We're in 2021, folks, December, It doesn't look good. Stay away from the market. I have a feeling we're going to crash. But anyway, that's a whole other side note, But, okay, so where are we? We got the knight coming out. Morphy with answers with knight to d2, and no, not a good idea to try to pawn fork for black. It loses, right? So what does Mongrenian do? Augustus, right? What does Augustus do here? All right, so he castles. Okay, Shredder sees it. He castles. Now here you go. Look at Shredder with this move. Well, that's what Morphy plays. Okay, now goes to show you how strong this guy was back in the day. All right. But anyway, there's a little note. This meets with the approval of Jay Lowenthal, amongst other critics. Some recommend, get a load of this one, folks. I don't get it. Some recommend knight to e1. I do not understand this move. It does not make any sense to me. You're going backwards, and, heck, look at Shredder already going for the D-pawn. I don't get it. Let's see where it goes. What's even... You just lost the D-pawn. You come up here, you trade even, let's see, we're doing it quick. And, what does he have? I don't even know. Maybe that's a typo. I couldn't figure it out. We're all allowed a mistake now and then. Maybe that's just a typo. Descriptive notation. On move 11, knight to king 1, which is knight to e1 in modern notation. So I don't know. Here's some other moves they give. Others again recommend pawn to e5, as in game, what is this, 82. In 82, game 82, Morphy will try this, e5. We'll see what happens in that game, all right? We'll get to that one soon. All right, as we're on game 61 right now, we'll get there soon. All right, so I know I went into that other pawn fork for quite a bit. So let's get into the game where Morphy plays d5, okay? Now, funny, Shredder's looking at knight to e5. The old masters recommend this is the best move. Knight to a5 is still the right move for black. And you see, usually white does pull the bishop back. He doesn't want to trade his light square bishop for that knight, okay? And then this is the best moves for both, okay? And you go from there. It's a game. So black up a pawn. White has some space advantage. A little lead in development. Not much, though, but who knows where it goes. So Augustus does like Shredder. Look at this. You got it. Let me let the engine run for like 1 minute here. Because this has got it. I don't know. They're saying this is a bad move for black. Looks natural, right? Bring the knight to e5. Bring the knight to e5. I mean, maybe it's playable. But in other lines of the Evans Gambit, it's a flat out mistake. Okay? And it's so natural of a move, right? Bring your knight to the center. You don't want it on the edge. One of those simple rules that everybody goes by. Oh, don't bring your, a knight on the rim is dim, right? But sometimes it just is what's needed to maneuver or, keep yourself in the game. All right, but anyway, here Shredder's recommending exactly what Augustus does. Okay, here we go. Morphy takes. Pawn takes back. Morphy takes the pawn with his bishop. And here you go. Shredder sees it. Rook to e8. Okay? Now you see if the bishop retreats, we're dropping the e-pawn, folks. We don't want to do that. And not to mention, on this pawn push, okay, on d5, you notice now you're blocking, white's blocking his light square bishop over here. See that? Not to mention the knight who just leaped to e5 is aiming at it, right? So he's even threatening. You go here to try to trade it off for this. Well, knight to e5 does the same thing. Look at it now. There you go. Now he sees it. Now Shredder finally hit upon the line and now he likes knight to a5 better than knight to e5. There you go. I knew if you gave it enough time, it would see it. Okay, knight to e5 to trade, this guy for him. And that's what the old masters recommend. Knight to e5 looks natural. Bring the knight to the center. Nice post for now. You're going after the bishop all the same. But look, you trade him off. Now he wins. And the point being with rook to e8, now you're piling up with the rook and the knight on f6 to take on e4. So, Morphy takes the knight, the right move, to buy time and to now destroy one of the attackers of his e-pawn, right? All right, Augustus isn't going to take like this and just open up his king side, Larry. Let's dummy up, right? So here comes the queen taking on f6, but now the queen with the pawns can roll up and gain a tempo on the queen. You see, white's going to play. Let's say if he plays f4, right, which isn't possible right now with the king here, because of the bishop aiming down from b6, right? So, what does Morphy do? He moves this guy over, right? We all understand it now why he moves, because he's gonna, let's just throw a dumb move in here, right? Let's do this, right? He's gonna throw this up and start a pawn storm. The pawns are marching up, folks. The soldiers are coming in. They're coming with the bayonets. They're ready. They're ready to go to war. They're gonna crack open the black position, right? So, I mean, all right, he moves here. You gain a tempo on the, I don't know if this is the best move, but you gain a tempo on the black queen, right? And the pawns are rolling up the board. Maybe you advance the e6. Maybe you advance the f pawn again. But okay, that would leave this guy hanging, right? It would leave him hanging. So I don't know. Maybe okay, they're saying to launch this one up. Point is, white's gaining space. Not to mention this guy might be able to leap. He might be able to leap here and maybe come in sacking, or come here, post up, right, attacking key squares, light squares, combining with the bishop on c4. There's a lot of possibilities. I mean, you got to get there. But these were the ideas maybe floating around in Morphy's head. I got to, it's like you got to be a detective. You're just guessing. But with king to h1, that's his intention. Push the f pawn. It's backed up by the king rook there on f1. It's ready to go. And then you're going to advance e5, hit the queen, gain a tempo, getting those pawns rolling, baby, right? So that's the idea. Now, What happens in the game is Augustus just totally blunders. He blunders here. He makes a totally bad move. You see Shredder trying to chisel away at the center a little bit. That's the idea. You gotta try to trade these pawns, bust it up, you know. So I mean, if he can keep trading pawns and then trade pieces, he'll be up a pawn in the end game. You know, he's behind in development somewhat. I don't know, maybe what a move, one tempo maybe, but. Anyway, let's get back into the game and what Augustus does, because it's all, you know, what coulda, shoulda, woulda happened, right? Because Augustus makes a blunder now. And I'm going to turn the engine off and see how sharp you really are. Let's see if you can see this blunder. Well, we're talking about pushing F4, then pushing E5, then maybe throwing the knight in on E4, right? So look at this. Augustus figures maybe the idea I should do is trade pieces, trade pawns. I'm up a pawn, get to the end game, be up a pawn. Maybe I could win this. Let me aim at that knight before it can lead to E4. Let me take him out. We'll trade pieces, right? What's wrong with this move, folks? Do you see it? Do you see what's wrong with bishop to A5 question mark? All right. Morphy jumped on it. Queen to A4. A double attack, folks, because you're attacking the bishop, as you can see. Now, if he takes down here like it's planned, well, you lose because now the queen comes down, taking the rook, and it's mate. Good night, goodbye, next game, right? So you can't do it. You can't do it, folks. You can't. I mean, now it's just a flat-out blunder. You're gonna lose a piece, right? If you move the rook can't position itself to defend the bishop in any way. So both pieces are hanging. Double attack by the queen. Gonna lose a piece. Now, it's pretty interesting, pretty ingenious, almost the way Augustus tries to save this. He plays the pawn first, right? So he hits the queen and the bishop. So, you know, he's blocking this guy, taking the rook. So if you take here, well, he could take this one, right? So he doesn't lose a piece. He might, you know, he loses a pawn, I guess. Let's put the engine back on to guide us, okay? This comes up, right? If he takes here, well, he takes, right? So it's a trade of bishops. I guess you get your, I mean, if you take here, he could take there, right? So it looks good, All right, so we got to take that guy, right? So we take with the queen. And now what he tries is another interesting move. Okay, he throws the bishop and hits the queen. Now, the bishop, once it comes off the back rank, the rooks link up. I can't even say it. I'm stuttering here. I can't believe this. Look, he's almost pulling it out, folks. Look, bishop to A6. Now the rooks protect one another. So this one isn't hanging anymore. So he goes to take. All right, he goes to take the bishop, and look at this. So now he takes here, right? But it still doesn't work out because, as you can see, Morphy ends up, even after dropping this pawn, right? This is how the game went. Augustus tries to worm his way out by at least getting 2 pawns for it, right? You got, let's see, 5 pawns to 5 pawns. So really, wait, let's go back. At this point, all right, because at this point, it's 6 pawns to 6. It's actually tied up because Morphy captured the E pawn. That's what it was. I couldn't remember. So he got that E pawn, so it's even. The pawns are even. So Augustus doesn't have 2 pawns for it, and he doesn't even look. Now he's behind pawns by throwing the B pawn up at this point, and then playing bishop, and then here, and then they trade bishops on C4. So now Morphy's actually up the pawn. So Augustus taking on E4. Matter of fact, now it's just even. So the pawns are even, and Morphy has the extra piece. He has the knight, right? Okay, so rook takes on E4, and look at what ends up happening at this point. You got the queen taken on C7. Well, Mongolian He doubles the rooks. Double them rooks up. All right, he's figuring, all right, I control that e-file, you know, for the pawn at least. And here comes what looks like the obvious move. Knight to d6, right? Let me turn the engine off to see if what you would do, because this is another good one to know. Okay, knight to d6, folks. Knight to d6. You get the knight fork. You're gonna win the exchange now. Okay, but what do you do after Mongredian plays queen takes on a1? Holy smokes! Because if you take back, you come down and you got mate, folks, and it's black turns the tables and shocks you, knocks you right off your stool, right? You fall on the floor, you hurt your back, you might not even be able to play the next round. Can you believe this? All right, so here you go. So Morphy jumps in, he goes in for it, knight to d6. Queen takes! Holy smokes, what do you do? What did Morphy do to save the game, folks? There's a winning move still. Morphy is still in control. Do you see the winning move? All right, it's not too hard to see. It's pretty obvious, right? Queen takes check. The check move. So black doesn't have time to take, you know, let's just say you do a dumb move like this. Look, he's also, you know, threatening queen takes rook mate, right? So you almost get suckered into saying, well, I got to take the queen because then he'll take me and it'll be mate. But no, you could strike first down here. The queen takes check, right? No other move to go but here. And then how do you follow up? What do you do now, folks? What do you do now? All right, another check move. Again, you can't take here because then he comes down and it's all over for you. Again, you fall off the seat, you hurt your back. Come on. You're going to end up in the hospital like this. All right, so what do you do? All right, obvious, right? Queen takes check. Another check move has to be answered, right? Black king is in mate, back rank mate position. All right, so rook takes. Now you got to dummy up. All right, I know I threw another joke in. You can't take the rook down here because now it's again black gets mate. All right, you know that one. You can see it from a mile away. Now you can take the queen. You're okay, and you end up you're up 2 pawns, a knight. That pawn on d5 looks like it's going in. Look, he can't even threaten to take you, because then you slide right over here, and if he takes, look, back rank mate, folks, you got to wake up. Another joke, right? Look, he can't even do it. And the next thing you know, you're going to force the trade of rooks, right? No matter what he does next, he can't come off the back rank or it's mate. If he tries to make a hole or if he tries to come up, you get time to just trade him off, right? You force the trade, and there you go. And there you go. You're good to go at this point, right? If he tries to come in, look at this one. If he tries to come in, right, say he goes here, right? Then well, you can go here, and he can't come up. Look, he can't come here, he can't come here, but he could hit you, right? Now, would it be crazy enough to play this just for fun? And then if he hits you there, you take, and then he attacks this one, but you advance that one, so that if he takes this one, you advance that one, and you go in for a queen. Do you see that little trick, folks? When you get 2 pawns separated by 1 file, the king tries to come up, can't do anything. Look, you go up with the other one, and now they're locked in place. The king can't do anything. He can't even move, because if he comes off, the B pawn goes in, right? And he can't even get over because of this guy. He can't go over here because of this guy. He can't even do anything. So he's pretty much stuck. If he takes, like we said, you advance in. See that little trick? So even that's a little bonus pattern, an endgame pattern at the end. 2 pawns separated by a file. The enemy lone king can't stop them, because look, boom, the other one will march in. See that? So there you go. I mean, that was a short one. I threw in a little deep. We went into the woods, into the weeds, whatever you want to say, on that pawn fork. If knight takes on e4 and trying to win a pawn, and then whatever, we looked at it. And then you got a nice little blunder by Augustus there, and Morphy quick to jump on it. And you got an interesting position at the end with these doubled rooks and a queen sack, you know. Can't blame Augustus for trying, right? The guy had a pretty idea. It just didn't pan out, you know. Morphy had the answer. There you go. So that wraps up game 61, folks. All right, so we'll catch you next time on game 62 between these two. All right, little tongue twister there.